Hey, everybody. How is it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
Great.
Pretty fantastic. Welcome to another fun edition of Baz Bites live stream. You know, we kicked these things off a couple weeks ago for Cisco Live, and Matt and I were talking the other day. Hey, wouldn't it be fun to do more live streams? Because I think it's fun. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's super fun.
It's my first. This will be my first one, so we'll see how fun it is, Jeff.
Oh, it is going to be a blast. I promise you, Ryan. It's going to be so much fun. Yeah, it'll be super fun, guys. I thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. So for everyone who's just joining us, we've got one new viewer who just jumped on. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. For everyone who's on the live, all of my guests here, Matt, Ryan, Gilbert, we'll do intros in a second. If you're watching the live, there's the comment section on YouTube. Definitely throw your comments up there, ask questions, whatever else. If this is your first time joining us on Baz Bites, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And I do have a question for the audience. If you have not joined us before, or even if you have, are you familiar with Cisco Secure X? There's a little call to action for you. If you are, just throw up a yes or no in the chat. I'd love to hear that from you, because today we're going to talk all about all the awesomeness that is Cisco Secure, or just security in general. There's lots of good security topics. So, but before we get into all of that, I thought I'd do let's do a quick set of intros so everyone watching knows who they're listening to. Ryan, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Ryan Parker. If I look a little different, I have what's called the COVID-19 work from home beard and haircut. I haven't had a haircut in about 4 or 5 months. So just happy to meet everyone. I've been in cybersecurity field for almost 20 years. Most recently here at Cisco for about 7. So great to meet everyone, and look forward to the conversation.
Right on. And by the way, Ryan, I absolutely love the Ron Swanson beard.
Yeah,
it's pretty glorious. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Gilbert, why don't you go next?
Yeah, hey there, guys. My name is Gilbert Mendoza. I've been in the network engineering security space for about 20 years, as you can see from the gray hair. Like Ryan, I'm excited about all sorts of things. I'm excited I got to actually get a new shirt, so that's fantastic, and I got to wear it for people. So that's about it. Anyway, been with Cisco for just under 10 years, primarily in networking and security. So.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Ryan and Gilbert, thanks for being here. And Matt probably doesn't need any introduction because he's been here before. But Matt, why don't you give an introduction to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I have the opposite of Ryan, COVID haircut. Just to forget it, it's coming off. But yeah, happy to be here too, guys. Matt Okuma, I'm a systems architect on the commercial team here at Cisco, and been with Cisco about 9.5 years, almost 10, almost made that milestone. But a lot of great things happening in security that I've worked with Ryan and Gilbert on, even this past year. Just a lot of great things. Looking forward to discussing any and all topics around security and what we're doing with our customers.
That's awesome. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Jeff Bull. I'm the engineering manager here at Cisco, who covers the Bay Area, or at least probably a good chunk of the Bay Area. So, but more importantly, we're here with everybody who is the real experts on security, and that's what we want to talk about today. So I believe we do have a special guest who should be joining us here soon. In the meantime, though, I think the biggest thing right now, security has always been a big deal for customers, or I should say for businesses out there, no matter what. I think so often the conversation gets lost in the minutia of how you can implement security with all these different tools and platforms out there. So I think one of the interesting things to talk about came out a lot at Cisco Live, and we've noticed it a ton with COVID, is how customers are having to adjust how they're using security solutions, not just to secure things, but to enable. Ryan, do you want to talk a bit about maybe what sort of trends we've been seeing from the customers in the different industries that we work with at Cisco? What we've seen in the behavior differences now that everyone's at home, how are customers and companies using security solutions to actually enable what their employees are doing?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jeff. So I think probably going back to late February, early March, when kind of the lockdown really kicked in, was honestly probably some of the busiest times Gilbert and I had ever, I think, in our career, right? Really what we found was organizations, some were fine, but multiple organizations were really unprepared for a whole disaster scenario where, hey, we need to have every one of our workers who normally work in the office 5 days a week need to work remotely. and there was a big scramble around that, right? How do we enable our customers to log in securely? How do we make sure they're secure and their devices are secure? And honestly, a lot of customers were unprepared to do that. So we really spent a lot of time getting systems up to date, getting licenses and extending temporary licenses for customers who didn't have the proper licensing, just to get them up and operational. And I'll let Gilbert kind of elaborate a little bit more on some of the work he did. But just now we're starting to get a breath for customers to say, okay, we got that knocked out. Let's start seeing what else we can do from a security standpoint to make sure this environment is more secure. So Gilbert, maybe if you want to elaborate a little bit more on what you did kind of during the break.
Yeah, absolutely. So right along with what you were mentioning, we found that most customers that had specifically remote access VPN type solutions or any type of network application that would allow them to have access to internal resources were not prepared just for the influx. I think that's pretty common. It's a pretty common story these days. So a lot of the work that we initially did when things started to really become clear, at least in our region, was to quickly bolster up infrastructure that was already there. In many cases, we actually had to overhaul or uplift what the existing infrastructure was to support just the sheer number of connections and, of course, the quality of that experience. Many of our businesses, such as like call centers, for example, where the work is very transactional, and the number of calls that you can take remotely, the number of tasks that you can knock out quickly between calls was critical. So it was very important to focus on that quality and try to make their experience as close to working from an office as possible. So that was
I'm super curious on that topic. You made a comment about the quality of the experience. What does that mean? Because I know a lot of our businesses or the companies we work with use a variety of different types of products to get remote connectivity for users. When you say the quality of the experience, though, are you meaning like the actual technology itself, or what is it you actually mean by that?
Yeah, a good question. So quality is actually, it encompasses a number of different aspects. First, quality of the experience, I think of networking, quality of service, being able to actually have the appropriate amount of bandwidth in order to accomplish your task, right? If you have video centric tasks that are necessary, or voice calls, I mean, just simple voice, let's talk about that. That quality of experience needed to be there. We had customers that were, of course, now suddenly challenged with bandwidth. It wasn't even just the equipment that they had, but now their ISP was not up to snuff, right? The other quality that we're also referring to is the ease of use and that quality experience of getting onto the network. Many of their employees were not used to the remote access technology. Now suddenly having to either fight their way through older technology that hadn't been updated, or just be trained on a new way of accessing the network.
Gotcha. So sort of a combination of all the parts that let like an end user actually connecting have a good quality experience when they're trying to be remote and work. Not just that sort of classic, I'm the network administrator and I have enough, I can get a VPN so I can open up secure CRT and connect in. Like these folks have to be able to actually do a real job. I don't mean network administrators not at a real job, but like you got to be able to take phone calls and like do other things that require better quality connectivity than just an SSH session.
We've definitely seen over the past decade, a number of customers adopt work from home strategies. We look at Cisco, right? Definitely an example of a workforce that is already very remote centric. But of course, many of our customers have been going that way. We have had a number of holdouts where that whole culture just was not really acceptable, and the work from home, or I should say remote access footprint, was relegated just to a small number of IT folks that were already tech savvy, that could, like you said, open up secure CRT or other types of applications, and they were already familiar with that concept. And now suddenly you have a workforce that doesn't know any of that, and it's very challenging.
Matt, what were you going to say a second ago?
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback on that. Something from just the normal networking side of things, I think a lot of customers dealt with this certain influx of work from home was just totally different traffic patterns in their data center, right? Normally, you're geared toward the highest level experience from on net to your data centers or to the cloud, but now the traffic patterns just are totally mixed up when people are accessing the applications or business critical applications from anywhere essentially. And so that was a big thing that hit a lot of customers. It's a good thing to think about, like how you need to be prepared even going forward to deal with those. It was just a good lesson that was learned for a lot of people. We did a lot of things like just increasing bandwidth licenses very quickly on internet facing routers, which is great that we have that ability where if you have like an ASR router, you could just boost it automatically with a couple commands and reboot, and we gave that to customers to use. So it definitely helped a lot of customers there get through those things. But yeah, a lot of people are definitely changing the way, and I think they're always going to be a percentage of workforce now that are always have the ability to work from home, so that just business continuity has another dimension, which is good. And I think some people were prepared, some weren't, and it's sort of settled down now where people are kind of in the flow, and it's okay to work from home. It's not like some weird thing anymore.
Right. Have you guys started to notice any more? I mean, so now that the initial influx of businesses, ramping up solutions they already had or expanding solutions like virtual ASAs or other types of virtual appliances to allow this to be quicker, since they can't necessarily buy a box and take it someplace and install it. Have you noticed, the conversation around what the solutions can let them do start to change or increase in any way? Or is the conversation kind of dynamically started to change as a result of the fact that we're all kind of in COVID staying in this shelter in place even longer than I think most people had hoped for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think honestly, the customers who value, what Cisco can do and spin up licenses immediately in kind of a time of need, and appreciate things like Gilbert has done over the past, like spending his weekends helping, getting ASA spun up for remote workers, for deadlines and things like that. Really appreciate what Cisco and we have done for them. And so the conversation has definitely grown significantly after kind of hitting those milestones with the remote access user situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll take a quick pause for a sec. I just want to say hi to, thanks to everyone for joining us. We've got a few viewers on with us live right now. Nick posted in the chat room. Thanks for joining us, Nick. We really appreciate it. For the other viewers, thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate it. And for anybody watching right now or later, this will obviously be up on our YouTube, the Baz Bytes YouTube channel later on, so you can watch this whenever you want to. But I do want to say thank you very much to the viewers that decided to join on live today. We really appreciate it. So, it's I've noticed so much. And if you guys have other topics you want to chime in with, go ahead. I've got some stuff in my head that I was thinking about. But if there's anything in particular you guys really wanted to chime in, let me know. One of the things I've started to notice more and more is that, like you said, Ryan, the conversations have changed a bit. And obviously the influx of customers wanting to buy, or I shouldn't say customers, businesses needing to buy some sort of solution to quickly get people sent home. I've also started to hear, either directly from a business or through other people, that now that their workforce is at home, in many cases, they're starting to see a real noticeable return on the investment, or even an improvement in the quality of service they as a business can provide to their external customers by having their employees work remote. Matt, I know you've talked to a few companies that you cover or that you support directly. What have you heard from customers or from businesses across any industry vertical about what it's like to actually have their employees at home 100% of the time now?
Yeah, a couple things there. I think a lot of them are definitely sort of did the initial reaction where they had to get people live and had to continue business, but now they're looking at how do we give them an even better experience at home. So more of those premium based work from home or remote access solutions, so that there is a percentage of workers that are always remote. So there's no speed bump per se going forward if something like this does happen or just something in their business changes. So that was an eye opener. And so I definitely see people doing that. And I also see people, some good feedback, like, yeah, it's increasing productivity, customer, even employee satisfaction, so that they have the flexibility to work when they can work, and also opening up to a broader set of talent where, like, if let's say a lot of customers I support have large contact centers, they're in customer care, and they want to be able to say, hey, wherever you are in the US, if you have great internet, you have good internet connection, we can consider you to be on our team. So that opens up a whole nother, great, talent that companies now can leverage if their systems and their access systems are good enough to support that premium experience that they want to deliver to their customers, even from home. So it opens up a whole new kind of workforce that they can tap into.
That's it.
Yeah, if I could jump on that, like what we've seen over the past 5 years is definitely lack of quality talent from a security standpoint, especially here in the Bay Area, right? And so we've seen the trend where organizations are looking outside of the Bay Area to hire talent, right? If it's Florida, if it's the East Coast, if it's Texas, right? So with this enhanced experience we've got now, we're definitely starting to see people hiring outside of the area for security in particular.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was talking to there was a company I talked to a couple of years ago about something similar, but it had nothing to do with COVID or sending more people remote. Exactly, though, to what you just said, Matt and Ryan, I think there's a combination there where it's whether they wanted it to or not, it's a compelling event. This crisis created a compelling event of everyone going home, and I've started to hear a lot too that it's opening the minds of a lot of non-technical people in the senior executive level, realizing that by having people remote, to your point, Ryan, the talent pool that is available to you to hire the right people for the right roles does not just have to be the localities where you have a building. It can now very literally be anywhere you want it to be. The key is, as a business, I think it's twofold. One is your internal culture and processes have to adapt to what that looks like, because as soon as everybody is want to say so far, and I know that's going to diminish over time as shelter in place continues for even longer, I'm sure people are going to stop saying the new normal and when we go back to the office, the ... when we go back to the office. Like, that's not happening anytime soon. I'm starting to hear companies are getting used to the idea that we're just going to be in this position for a while. So getting used to, adapting to this new normal where talent can be wherever you want it to be, especially in the security sector. Whoever happens to be the right person can get the role, and you don't have to live in the city where one of the buildings happens to be with cubicles in it, which is so interesting. I'm really curious what you guys think about how that's having an effect on how businesses are looking at security solutions that they buy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a commentary. A number of our customers have now, I think, really for the past 2 months, have been, more and more of them have been saying, yeah, we're not going back anytime soon, or it's going to be. There are certain industries where some people have to be there. Manufacturing is a big thing. Like, you have to have people with hands-on, and obviously that's changing, quite a bit. But there's still a great portion of their operations, where work from home strategy does make sense. So it's going to be very much a hybrid model, going forward. Making drastic changes, like, getting everybody back to work may not be possible, because many of these organizations are actually, letting go of their leases, or saying, hey, let's actually make this a little bit more permanent. So if there is ever a normal, it's probably going to look a lot different than what it did before.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, and on the security front specifically, I know Ryan and I and Gilbert and I, we've had customers come to us and say, well, now that everyone's working from home, our security, the way we were monitoring and enforcing security has completely did a 180 and changed. And luckily, I think we as a team were able to guide them through, being fortunate that we have such a broad and deep architecture in security strategy that our tools differentiate themselves a lot and are able to still provide the level of visibility and security that's needed for this sort of workforce shift, which has been really great. I think definitely other security vendors in the industry don't have the breadth and depth across a architecture where we can be flexible and say, hey, you just need to access web-based applications. Let's look at Duo, for instance, and just, is there certain users that need a premium experience on three apps in the organization? We could do things very differently than other players that don't have the breadth and depth of our architecture like we do, which has been pretty interesting.
Yeah, and Matt, not only the breadth and depth of the architecture, but for those of you who don't know, Cisco has invested heavily over the past 3 to 5 years in a product that was just announced back at the RSA conference called SecureX, right? And what SecureX is it's an amazing tool that a lot of security organizations, they don't necessarily have a place or to log into, right? To see, hey, what's going on in my network? They found that tools like SIMs, log management solutions, haven't really done the trick for a lot of people. What they end up having is a bunch of tools that they have to have multiple workers log into, and lack things like automation, right? So what SecureX has enabled, and what we're giving our customers for free, is a tool where I can, one, log in, see a quick snapshot of my network, my security devices, security threats, as well as provide tools for automation and investigations right off the console there. So pretty exciting. Gilbert, I don't know if you want to expand a little bit more on SecureX from a technical standpoint.
Sure. Well, really from a technical standpoint,
Yep.
I would say more from an operational standpoint. And
Yeah.
There's no doubt that SecureX, the framework, which has been built on a number of our technologies that we've been advancing, over the past number of years, has integrated the Cisco portfolio, which we've talked about for many years now. Every product that we either acquire or develop, one of the core tenets of that integration story is make sure that it's interoperable. There's it's API driven. What I appreciate really about SecureX is that it takes the security tasks and operationalize them and makes the workflow make sense. So from SecOps, being able to get the latest news or trends about certain threats, and then plug in and tie the loose ends back to what's important to them, which is how does it affect their environment, right? And those are that's the first step. And of course, the next is how to actually delve in and find out exactly where this threat has gone throughout the infrastructure.
That's a really good point. Well, listen, with our last couple of minutes here on our live stream, is there any closing thoughts you guys want to put out there before we wrap up?
Good question, Jeff. Yeah, I'd love to do another session with you guys, and so if there are more questions, I think a bunch of good areas of conversation that I'd like to talk about is what are organizations doing with their budgets now from a security standpoint, right? We see obviously with the lockdown trends, budgets are tightening up, but the demand for security products has increased, right? So what are organizations doing now to address that issue right now? That's one of the areas I'd like to discuss a little further in next live stream.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue. Thank you, Ryan, because Matt and I have been talking about this, and we decided starting this Friday, we're going to be going live every Friday on the BazBytes channel for cool tech content or any subjects anybody out there wants to hear. So for anybody watching right now, if you have suggestions or topics you really want to see covered, post them in the comments or post them after the video's been uploaded to YouTube. Outside of that, I want to thank Ryan, Gilbert, Matt. Thank you all so much for joining today. And for everyone who's joined on the live stream, we really appreciate it. If you need anything from us, we'd love to see you on another one. Please, if you'd like to keep up with everything we do here at BazBytes, hit the subscribe button someplace in one of these corners around this box here. Hit subscribe. It really does help boost our channel a little bit. And if you like the video, that big thumbs up right there below Matt down there, there's a big thumbs up. If you like that, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you all very soon.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one,
Bye, guys.
Thank you.